The FoKus Mystique is the newest wireless bud to come from Noble Audio. Some of Noble's previous popular wireless releases include the Falcon and the FoKus Pro. The Mystique seems to be a revamped version of the FoKus Pro, sporting a similar $360 price tag and a seemingly identical 3D printed lacquered shell with a gemstone-like faceplate. The similarities don't stop there. The Mystique brings the FoKus Pro's drivers with it. That is, one 8.2mm dynamic driver and two balanced armature drivers. Some general things you should probably know. The bud's battery life is 7 hours of playback at 50% volume, with an additional 28 hours held in the case. A 15-minute charge gives the buds 70 minutes of playback time. The Mystique utilizes Bluetooth 5.2 and is compatible with the following codecs: AAC, SBC, aptX, and aptX Adaptive. Like its predecessor, the Mystique can connect to the Noble FoKus app, in which you can use an excellent 10-band EQ for some drastic or subtle tuning customizations. Now, let's see what's in the box. You get a user manual, your FoKus Mystique wireless earbuds and charging case, 5 pairs of silicone ear tips, 2 regular and 3 of them triple flanged, a USB to USB-C charging cable, and a very soft carrying pouch. Let's start by going over some of the Mystique's wireless features. So when it comes to battery life, it's 7 hours of playback in the buds. A 15-minute charge will get you 70 minutes of playback, and 4 charges, so that's 28 hours, are held in the case. As far as I'm concerned, that's on the upper end of average for the standards that we see with wireless buds, and no complaints there. So does the Mystique have ANC? No, it doesn't have ANC. That, I think, is unfortunately pretty normal to see with kind of like audiophile grade wireless buds. They're really just going for the sound quality more than anything else, so that's what they're prioritizing. There are 2 microphones, one on each side, and the microphone might be really just like the one thing about the Mystique that I wasn't a fan of. I thought that transparency mode was a little bit on the harsh side. When I turned it on, picked up a lot of room ambience, picked up a lot of room reverb and voices. It's not terrible. It's not awful. You can use it for utilitarian purposes. If you just need to switch it on and off to hear something, serves its role. There's some wireless buds that have a really good transparency mode where you feel like you want to use them as hearing aids. Don't think that that's the case with the Mystique. As far as connection goes, I never had a problem getting a connection with these in the first place. It was very quick, it was very fast, it was very easy. That is, a fast detail to go over, but it's a pretty important detail. That's not always the case, even with really premium wireless units, so that's nice to see. As far as ongoing stability, I experienced a few cutouts here and there when I was using them in like a stable office environment, but they were really, really fast, split second, and over maybe 6 hours of listening with these, I experienced that maybe twice, I think. I think it was 2 times. And then I took these outside on a very busy midtown street in Manhattan, experienced occasional cutouts, but these actually performed better than I would say most buds that I've given that test to. So overall, solid enough Bluetooth connection. Not amazing, but pretty good. I don't think too many people will have many problems with that. Now, if you're already familiar with the Noble FoKus Pro, you can probably skip this part where I'm talking about how they look and feel. It seems to me like they have the same physical design and the same body, same housing, all of that as the FoKus Pro. So starting with charging case, just because it's easier. Pretty lightweight, but also pretty sturdy. Has this kind of aluminum feel to it. It's a metallic feel, a little cold to the touch. And something I like about it is that it's genuinely pocket-sized. You can fit these into a pair of jeans, even tapered jeans. So that's a nice little convenient feature. Now, as far as the buds themselves, look-wise, I really like this look. And the reason I like it is because it just looks like an IEM. It doesn't go for the sort of like wireless aesthetic. It doesn't have a gimmicky aesthetic either. And if it had a 2-pin connection on it, it would just look like a regular IEM. It has this gemstone faceplate. It doesn't look unfamiliar to me. And I would say that, it would fit right in with other units in a nice little collection. So stick with me for the fit. I will start by saying that the Mystique is chunky. It's pretty fat, has a long nozzle, has a fat nozzle, and it even kind of hangs out of your ear a little bit when you wear it rather than being flush against your ear. Now, take all of that and keep it in mind, and hear me out when I say that it is also very, very comfortable. It seems to me like it's self-aware of its fat, chunky qualities and kind of uses them to its advantage. So I just mentioned that the nozzle on these feels pretty long, but it's the width of the nozzle that kind of prevents you from over inserting them. And that also makes it a kind of easy fit, because in order to get these in, basically you push them in as far as it'll go. You don't have to worry about it going too deep, because the width of these is going to stop you from, seriously pushing them into your ears unless you're willing to like break bones in your ear or something. I'm really appreciative of the fit, because personally my ear canals, I feel like, are pretty asymmetrical. But with these, it kind of sets the physical limit for you. You just push them as deep as they can go, they stop, and then from there they kind of hang loosely out. That kind of loose feeling in the concha, like rather than them sitting tightly and, resting on the actual ridges of your ear or anything like that, it kind of contributes to a relaxed fit. I know it might sound uncomfortable, but it just kind of works. It doesn't get a lot of its grip from the body resting in your concha. I feel like it gets most of its grip from the deep insertion, and it kind of grips to your ear canals instead. So before I talk about soundstage, I want to mention it now that I think the Mystique gets the most value and really proves itself with its balance. The soundstage is fine. It's solid enough. I didn't get the greatest amount of depth or height from it. I found it a little more two-dimensional. That said, though, I thought it went very wide, and I did get a little sense of distance and, spatiality from it when parts were like hard panned to the left or to the right. It kind of pops out with like traces of three-dimensional qualities to it. That said, it's still a nice linear imaging. I definitely felt pans like they were moving across my face. Also, like I said, there's that little bit of distance when things are far to the sides. So not fantastic, it's not amazing, but it's also not bad. That said, I think that the Mystique has a seriously impressive balance, in particular for a wireless unit. So starting with the low end, it has a fair amount of boost, not a crazy amount of boost, but a good amount. And it's also a pretty broadly boosted low end. So has a good amount of subs in it. I got some good rumble out of it. It has a pretty distinct mid bass that has a really nice, tight, punchy slam that I was, feeling all throughout my listens. And then it has a solid amount of high bass, not as much high bass as mid bass or subs. Thank God. So if you've been watching this channel, you might know at this point I'm almost a broken record with this. I think that high bass and low mids is frequently the source of problems in a lot of headphone balances, and much more specifically than that, wireless headphone balances kind of results in either a muddy sound or a pillowy sound. But in the case of the Mystique, I think it deals with the high bass boost and even the low mids boost pretty tastefully. It's not a really strong boost, but it's still present. It's like just present enough. And I think that it's genuinely giving warmth and drive to the sound signature without giving it that muffled, pillowy, muddy sound. Personally, I'm not usually a huge fan of warm sound signatures. That being said, I think I can tell when they're done right. And I think that the Mystique really does a great job with the sort of like high bass and low mids warmth that it's providing. So moving on to the mids profile, there does seem to be a pretty distinct V-shape to the frequency response. Low mids are still in the process of rolling off from the boost that we heard throughout its low end. And I think that low mids are kind of the emphasis of the mids profile still. But that emphasis isn't really, really heavy. It's not exactly subtle, like you'll notice it when you're listening with these, but it's definitely not overdone. I think that that's evidenced by the way that vocals sounded. I thought that vocals had a little bit of extra boost to their fundamental, but it wasn't overbearingly so. You know, it's also giving some amplitude to those overtones in the high mids. So it keeps vocals sounding pretty balanced, a little bit on the warm side, but I would say balanced nonetheless. The only casualty in the whole mids balance, and I would even say in the balance as a whole, is as a result of this V shape. I feel like the bottom of that V, as in the most attenuated part, as in the part with the least amplitude, is the center mids. And in general, I think the Mystique gets away with it. I think it mostly sounds good. The only time that I felt like I was missing center mids a little bit was with electric guitars, which I thought were brought down in the mix just a little bit. That being said, with metal, for example, I think there are pros to this balance where you get a really nice like meaty chug from the low mids and the high bass, but then you're still getting the high mid drive that's, you know, present in like the bite of the distortion. But that being said, just overall, by taking out maybe, I'm guessing here like 500, 600, 700 hertz, by bringing that down in the mix, you're just generally bringing down the overall like presence of electric guitars, specifically distorted guitars. It doesn't make anything sound wonky or wrong, but it just brings down those levels maybe a little more than I would like. But really, this is more of a nitpicking sort of complaint with it. I think overall, I was still happy with the mids balance. Now, another thing, maybe you know, if you've been watching my videos, is that I have a lot of respect for wireless units that know how to pack in a really nice present, high frequency profile. And for those of you who have tried the Falcon, who are hearing me say that, and you're starting to dread what's going to come next, no, this doesn't have the Falcon's treble. Falcon puts treble through the roof, frankly, and even though that's something that I like, and I think it does hold a certain appeal, there were a lot of people who can't bear that, and I don't really blame them. That being said, I think that the Mystique does still have a really forward and present treble profile, and I may have been complaining about how those guitars sounded with their, center mids being a little scooped out and not being as loud. But that being said, I think that there is something really nice being done to distorted guitars and electric guitars, and I would just say guitars in general, as well as, other instruments like synths, pianos that are generally, the driving parts to a track. There is something really nice happening in the high end, and I would just describe it as it has a really rich harmonic quality. There's, a solid amount of just like shine and sparkle that cuts through really nicely, and I think it sits really well with the warmth in the low mids. It's this really nice contrast, especially for a wireless earbud. It has excellent extension, and I think it pulls it off really without sounding shrill or anything like that. Captured a lot of vocal air, which again, that also sounded really nice against like the warmth in the low mids, and the high bass cymbals have really nice like sandy granular qualities. So that treble extension keeps things realistic, also keeps things, I think, pretty airy without really risking pain or producing sibilance at all. I think that's one thing I really respect about it. Has a great treble profile that's very present without a sibilant problem. So I'll briefly touch on some EQ adjustments that I made with these. If you're hearing me say that and you're saying, well, EQ is against my personal religious beliefs, I feel you. It's also usually against my personal religious beliefs as well. That being said, though, The Noble FoKus app has a really nice equalizer. Again, this is something where if you used the FoKus Pro, you're probably familiar with it. Has a 10-band equalizer where you could do plus minus 12 dB on each band. And I found that that gave me a lot of control over the tone that I wanted. And that coupled with already a very nice tone, like default tone as is, I feel like I was able to use the EQ to get a balance that I preferred rather than feeling like I was correcting a balance, which I feel like I'm frequently using in-app EQs for when it comes to wireless releases. So long story short, the Mystique is pretty pricey when it comes to earbuds. Pretty similarly to the FoKus Pro, I believe it's being priced at $360. But honestly, it is hard for me to think of wireless buds that compete with the balance that the Mystique offers. It delivers the warmth that I think people have come to expect from wireless sound signatures, but does it in a way that doesn't muddy up the mix and balances out really well with a pretty extended, high end. So it's warm, but it's also really detailed. And on top of that, it comes with an excellent EQ that I thought was really helpful in getting the exact sound that I wanted. Like I said, I was really happy with the default balance, but I really enjoyed the balance that I was able to get out of these, if I do say so myself, when I was using the in-app EQ. So is it worth $350? Honestly, yeah, I kind of think it is. This is easily amongst one of my favorite wireless buds that I've tried. I think when it comes to sound quality, it's pretty hard to beat what the Mystique is offering here. I'm including a link to order the Noble Audio FoKus Mystique down below from the Audio 46 store. I'm also including a 10% off promo code that if you apply it at checkout, it'll get you 10% off your orders from Audio 46. Also, if you want to see more videos and reviews like this, remember to like and subscribe to the channel below. And that's about it. So I'll see you guys next time.